Imagine having an AI-powered search engine for candidate profiles from across the open web and even from within your own ATS. Well, that's exactly what HireTool is. HireTool is a global talent platform that serves all recruiters, from small businesses to the world's largest enterprises. And with 750 million plus profiles from over 45 open web sources and channels and 30 plus integration partners, there's literally something for everyone. Recruiters can find more talent with AI sourcing, send unlimited emails, and integrate with your favorite recruitment tools all in one platform. If you're spending hours looking for qualified candidates, underrepresented talent, and updated contact information, then HireTool is probably what you need for your toolkit. HireTool is a platform that helps great recruiters accomplish more every single day. Check them out at hiretool.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of HR Famous. I'm Tim Sackett, and with me are my two good friends, Chris Dunn and Jessica Lee. Chris, I'm going to start with you because Jessica's finishing her lunch. How are you doing?
Doing great, Tim. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Thanks for caring. Thanks for going to me first because JLee has a mouthful of some type of vegan dish because I'm assuming she's still vegan.
Yeah,
even that's still on.
Didn't you?
It is still on.
Jay, weren't you trying some big vegan dish that one of the episodes we were talking? You were cooking something for the first time, or I don't know.
Yeah, she's Instagramming those things every once in a while.
There's a lot of mushrooms.
A lot of mushrooms.
There's a lot of mushrooms in my life, but I will say we're not being strict about it because we were at the beach recently, and one must eat crab when you are, at the beach, especially in this area. So this summer there will be crab in my life, and other things because I can't keep just I need it.
So I was, we're going to talk about business travel, but I was in New York City recently visiting my son and came upon, there's a taco place in New York that's my favorite taco place called Los Tacos No. 1. And it's down in the Chelsea market. There's a couple of them, but the one we go to is in the Chelsea market. And in that Chelsea market, there's also a great Korean place with Korean fried chicken. And I was almost sent you a picture just to and then of course, you know how all the social things work. I get on my Instagram and they're sending a brand new Korean, restaurant in New York with great Korean fried chicken that we got to check out. And I was just oh gosh, I want to try all this stuff. So
love Korean fried chicken. Actually, someone said to me the other day when somehow the vegan thing came up, they were like, aren't you Korean? I was like, yeah. And they were like, how does that work? You got to eat Korean fried chicken and Korean barbecue. That doesn't make any sense. I'm like, you're right. It doesn't make sense.
It's tough. So the kids are going vegan as well. You're not having them, eat meat, protein. Because I have a friend who's vegan. He has two boys. They let the boys continue to eat meat because of the protein piece, right? Trying to make sure they get enough protein, growing bodies, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, what do you classify children who only eat carbs? They're just, pasta and bread and rice. That's it.
That's what they eat anyways.
That's it. Nothing else. That's it.
Katie, you have the boys home for the summer. Grocery bill, is that doubled, tripled? Where are you at?
Oh my gosh. I can't imagine how much food is being consumed there.
So my oldest is at Auburn. He's trying to get ahead on classes so he can do a co-op this fall. So he's not home. But we have had them home and it's amazing. Especially you have four adults in the house and two of them are 18 to 20-year-old boys. It's amazing. It's crazy.
Yeah, we're taking a vacation and all the kids are inviting their friends and Kim's trying to build the menu, but the amount of food that these kids consume on a daily basis is just obscene. I don't even want to go to Costco with her because it literally be where those people pulling 3 carts, you're pulling one and then stuff's mound up, to the top. Do you guys have at your Costco, do you have it comes in, it's in the bakery. It's 3 loaves of bread. It's called cinnamon bread. So basically they take cinnamon bread, then they dump it in butter and then they roll it in cinnamon and sugar. And it's literally like crack cocaine. You get so addicted to it. Comes in, and it's only for $9 you get 3 loaves. So last year when we went on this vacation, we brought 9 loaves and they were gone within 5 days. 9 loaves of cinnamon bread. So now the argument that we're having is, do we buy 12? Do we buy 15? How many of these loaves of bread do we bring? And because people will eat it all day long. They'll eat it for breakfast. They'll have it for a snack. They'll have it for dessert. Like it's literally an all-purpose kind of like, this is the best kind of carb load thing you ever want. But if you ever see us like walking through Costco with 15 loaves of cinnamon bread, you look like complete idiots.
It wouldn't be the most
person.
outrageous thing that you've seen, like at Costco. There are more outrageous things that you've seen. The meat aisle, to go counter to what, Jessica's talking about. That's one of the things you'll see.
Mm.
Oh yeah. Someone buying like a gigantic like beef roast that's like 30 pounds or some stupid thing. So
I mean, also like the size of those toilet paper packages, that's not that's weird too. Like it takes up half of the cart. Yet we do it.
Well, no, like, yeah. And like, if you live in a big city where you have small places to live, like where the hell are you putting all that toilet paper? Come on.
Exactly.
You can build a bed on top of it. All right. Like I want to get into business travel. So like I ramped up really quickly on the business travel side and immediately ran into what's happening across the entire US, which is we have massive like staffing problems everywhere. So the first thing you notice when you get into like an airport is maybe half of the things are actually open, right? And so then the ones that are open have like gigantic lines. So this is on top of did you actually make it to your flight because it didn't get canceled because there wasn't enough staffing. But so recent week I go out and I have 3 instances that will show like how bad staffing is. So I fly Delta. I'm a platinum, almost diamond. Love flying Delta. Every airline has its issues, right? But so far, like Delta's, I like them best of all. And the one thing I hate about every airline is that when they know they can't get you out, they still jam you on the plane. It's the one thing that drives me crazy that I wish they wouldn't do. So I'm in Detroit. They stick us on the plane, close the door. Immediately the pilot gets on. Well, folks, got some news, blah, blah, blah. We're waiting to be fueled. Motherfucker, you knew we didn't have fuel on the plane and you got my ass on here? And he's like, so we expect we'll be taking off. Like I already had the app up. So the app's already updated, like an hour delay. So they got me on and I have an hour delay. And it was an hour and a half. But I hate that they do that. So anyways, so that's the story. It's a Saturday morning in Detroit, hour and a half on the tarmac waiting to be fueled. One fueler for an entire airport. Now, it's not like, Beeham or Lansing, KD. This is Detroit. Like this is like one of the biggest hubs that Delta has. They have one fueling person for the entire airport. So
did you have an app where you were tracking that single like fueling truck? How do you know that? How do you have this information?
No, because he came on and the pilot came on and said, "We're sorry." Like they kept coming and apologizing, right? Because eventually, you're sitting there at the gate for an hour and people get restless, right. And they're like, come on, like, why did you put us on this tin can during a pandemic when you knew this person wasn't going to show up?
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. We're coming off a pandemic and they're still trying to beat their
on time
departure times, right? On time departure.
Yep. Because as soon as they close that door, as soon as they close the door, it's considered on time.
So now I understand. Now I understand more why that pilot did that pass through and just put it on Delta.
Yeah.
So it didn't become Lord of the Flies.
Oh, for sure.
Like somebody's chewing on a thigh bone.
And they're immediately out with the drink. You're in trouble if you're a frequent flyer and they close the door and they say, "Hey, we're going to be delayed a bit," and immediately the carts come out. If the carts come out, they know it's a long time you're going to be sitting there. And so that's like your first warning. So then I get to my destination. I'm an enterprise guy, but they were sold out, right? So no cars for enterprise. And I'm booking weeks ahead of time. And again, another kind of thing where you go, wait a minute, what's going on? And then you find out, oh, well, there's no cars can be built right now because there's a lack of chips, right? So another pandemic issue, rental cars are super expensive and there's not a lot of them. So I get one at Avis. I go to the Avis counter, but they're owned by Budget. I see the line for Budget's like a mile long. I'm like, oh God, thank God. Avis had nobody. I'm like, the travel gods are on me. I'm winning right now. And turns out there's one person between Avis and Budget. Everybody has to go to that one person. Now, God bless this lady. She was amazing. Great attitude. I sent a message and said, I don't know what you're paying her, but you need to double it, because she knew she was in for a shit show all day long. And she just did it. Hey, we're all going to get you out. Like, and my wife was like, were you upset? I go, heck no. Cause if she leaves, I have no car. There's only one person there. And then,
Tim, Tim, did you say that you had an enterprise reservation, but there weren't any cars? Is that what you said?
No, I tried to get one and they told me they were sold out. And this is like 2 weeks
too bad, because
time.
you could have used, have you seen the Seinfeld reservation bit?
No.
Where they don't have like a car, which has happened to everybody, right?
Yeah,
they don't have a car, and he challenges her and she says, sir, I know how to do reservations. And he says, you know how to take the reservation. You don't know how to keep the reservation.
Oh.
That's the problem.
Oh.
And JLee is like throwing back in her chair because she's like in a reservation-based business, right?
Well, yes. that leads me to my last story, which is I'm in a courtyard, and I go to check in, and it's 5:00, and they're like, Mr. Sackett, yep, we have your thing. I already got checked in, right? Like the pre-check-in on the phone, and they're like, your room's not ready. And I'm like, oh. So I got in around 6, but again, it's all because they don't have enough staff, right? There's not enough people to clean rooms. You can only clean so many. I go up there, I see the actual guy like on the floor still, like at 6:30 at night cleaning rooms, and he's by himself, only card on the entire floor. And I'm like, man, God bless you for showing up, because without you, I wouldn't have a room right now. So it is what it is. But like, I guess it gets to the point where, as business travelers right now, if you're going to travel, I think between now and the end of the year, like you better book in a bunch of time extra, because you're going to have delays. You're going to have waits. Like we get so ramped up. I know all of us travel quite a bit. We get so ramped up to like the point where I'm only showing up to the airport 37 minutes before my flight leaves, because I know I can make it to whatever. And then everything is cut so close that right now you're SOL if you try to do that.
Hey, Tim, it reminds me of you and I went to a Hawks game a couple weeks ago, and we'll keep the hotel name out of it, but we caught a glimpse of the future too. So they had us in an automated checkout line or check-in line. So it's automated check-in, but they needed an FTE to run the check-in and to guide people, because I guess they thought the UI was so complex, like people just couldn't like figure it out. So they had an FTE kind of like basing that up, and then they had an FTE like with a laptop looking up the reservation. What's your name? Okay, let me get you started with this. And he just like did it for you. And then JLee, you'll love this. Tim and I went to the lobby. Room's not ready yet. It's all good, right? We got stuff to work on.
Give us your cell phone so we can text you when it's ready.
That's right. So we put cell phones in there, and like over time we're sitting there. What was it, Tim? Like 75, 90 minutes. Yeah. And we're like, the lobby's nice. Like it's fine. We're talking like work, and we're like, Tim finds like, I should probably just go ask. And of course, hey, I yelled your name. I yelled your name. If you didn't hear it. And
it's like Starbucks.
But no, text.
You said that.
Like automated technology. What?
So
my favorite part of that. My favorite part is the FTE. The FTE running the automation for the people. Clearly UI issues.
Super sweet lady that was doing it. By the way, Jay, we both get a text message the moment she hands us our keys. She actually did the thing, hand us our keys, and all of a sudden, bzz, you're like, your reservation's ready.
Oh, that was the step in your side of the UI that generated the text.
Whether you're a payroll pro or an employee wanting to understand your paycheck better, we've got you covered. Tune into It's About Payroll for expert insights on payroll trends and compliance, or check out It's About Your Paycheck, the go-to podcast for employees looking to understand their pay and rights. 2 great shows, 2 great hosts. Listen now, brought to you by Work Defined, where payroll meets clarity.
Mm.
By the way, Tim, when you were seeing the gentleman cleaning the room at the courtyard that you mentioned, more than likely was not the housekeeper. That was probably the general manager.
Could have been. Right.
It probably was the general manager who was cleaning. So it is hard times out there, for sure. And I don't know where you guys were staying with the other lobby incident, but I just think like there's this change that people are not accustomed to yet. So there's probably user experience issues with like the app. Like I would not be shocked by something like that. But also like even when you do have automated check-in at certain hotels or with certain brands, people aren't used to it. Like they're going to do something on their app or their phone and they might actually be checked in, but they still want to go in line and talk to a person and get their key because that's what they're accustomed to, or they want that face-to-face interaction. And so there's behavior change that we're going to have to do with people. But my ask of everyone is patience. And it's not just business travel. Like, people are like, I think we've talked about revenge travel on the pod previously. Revenge travel is real and people want to get out there. And I am glad people are getting out there, but takes a little bit of patience right now. Tip your servers, tip your housekeepers. Let's make them happy. It's not easy right now.
No, and I think that's the toughest part too, is you get so many people traveling right now because they've had this pent up demand. And then what you run into is a lot of people that haven't traveled in a long time and they kind of forget the normal protocols of like, hey, get your butt, put your bag away, get in your seat so people can move forward and like all those just simple things. And, don't stand in the middle of, thoroughways that people have to go through. And like, it's constant where I'm just like, I keep trying to tell myself, like, I have to get like in meditation mode of saying, we're all getting there. We're all going to be, it's okay. This is the way it is. Because you guys know me. I'm fast paced. Like I want to go.
The most important thing is all your devices, all of them need to be charged.
Oh yeah.
In today's travel environment.
Yes. You got to have a backup battery too.
Okay.
Back it up.
See, now we're troubleshooting this.
Yeah, be ready. All right. So we're going to move it on. Speaking of travel, Colorado. Everyone loves to go to Colorado for travel. They have a new state law, and that state law, it requires companies, even with, so usually a lot of these are like, oh, if you have under 50 employees, this doesn't count for you, but this is everybody, right? So every employer that's going to hire somebody in Colorado, you don't have to be stationed there, but you're going to hire somebody. You now have to disclose the expected salary or pay range for each open role that they advertise, including remote positions. So if you're a company that says, hey, we'll hire anybody anywhere in the country, we don't care where you're at, you can work remote. Colorado's saying, hey, if you put that up there, you have to have the pay range. Now, a lot of these companies are going to say, remember when we first started talking about this and like Silicon Valley would go, like some of the dot-commers would go, or tech companies would go, oh, you can work anywhere and we're going to pay you San Francisco wages, right? And then that all of a sudden, like no one talks about it anymore because it changed. Right now they're like, hey, we're going to hire remotely. Where are you living? And they're like, oh, like Albuquerque. And they're like, oh, okay, we're going to pay you this much, right? This is what you're going to get paid to live in Albuquerque. You're not going to get paid the 180 because, we're in San Francisco. Colorado decided, hey, we want to change that. And partly the rules are really aimed to kind of narrow the gender wage gaps and kind of provide greater transparency for all employees and all this stuff. Well, companies have gotten around that. And so now what you see on job postings is this statement or statements like this, which is, this is a position that may be performed remotely anywhere in the United States, except in the state of Colorado. Or this is a remote work from home position. This role will be filled outside of the state of Colorado. Jessica, what react to that as an HR leader? Like, again, I'm guessing they're doing this from a legal standpoint to protect themselves, right?
Probably, but I can't help but put on like my employer brand hat to say like, how does this make us look as a company from a recruiting perspective when we're saying, we'll take you from any of the other 49 states and however else we classify Puerto Rico and District of Columbia, anyone but the Coloradans. I'm surprised. I'm surprised. I get it from like a legal perspective, but there's an employer brand piece here where I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it, but the United States is a big place. So I have 49 other countries and some districts. Maybe recruiting isn't going to be that hard. I don't know.
So
I think it's pretty funny though. Actually, it's crazy. I can't believe this is the world we live in.
Well, and California already has a bunch of laws regarding kind of like pay transparency and stuff as well. But again, they don't force you to put it on, I think, the job posting. But so this one's a little unique. So if you have a specific job in Colorado, you have to put in the pay range or the expected salary for that job. And so one of the employment attorneys that's familiar with the law and all this stuff said basically it doesn't stop a company from hiring someone that is either in Colorado or potentially will relocate to Colorado. This literally just protects them, right, from the state of Colorado coming back and saying, hey, you're not following the law. We're going to, fine you or do whatever. Like, KD, how do you handle this on the brand standpoint?
So, I believe I'm going to go in Christian Dunn life coach mode here. And I'm going to say, I believe that it was Barack Obama in 2011 that once said elections have consequences.
Yeah.
And that's been used, like that gets leveraged, right? Anytime somebody probably wasn't the first one that said it. That's like the first one I remember. The Republicans have since used it, right? Whoever's in power will say that. But I say that to say that when you make laws at the state level, like there are consequences to those laws. The hidden piece to this is these companies are like hammering on Colorado and basically just calling them out. I'm reminded of the great inappropriate movie Blazing Saddles, where they're trying to build a railroad and they go through like every ethnicity in the world. And they say, like, to build the railroad and have enough manpower, we'll take the A, we'll take the B, we'll take the C. And they end up and they say, but we won't take the Irish. And that's Colorado these days, right? So by the way, to both of you, there are many companies right now that, if they have a choice, will not hire people from California or hire that are based in California or New York based on the regulatory environment. So I would say the much bigger thing behind the scenes is companies have policies where they're just not going to hire people from those states for remote positions. So I think it's interesting. Two other things for you real quick. I think the workaround to this from a legal perspective, and I have like some experience recruiting for remote positions lately, is I think you put remote, like whatever the job title is, and then what you do is you tie it to a non-Colorado based like location, Jacksonville, Florida,
Atlanta, Georgia,
remote recruiter, Jacksonville, Florida. What happens with those is they get aggregated into the job economy is about a fourth of the actual applicants you would get for that come from Jacksonville, and the rest are spread out across the United States, right? So the workaround is just tag your remote positions with a certain location, which seems counterintuitive, but in a lot of job posting things, you have to pick a location. So that's a best practice, I think.
Go, Jay.
But one of the things that you're raising also, whether it's related to Colorado or just, this changing environment of more hybrid or more virtual and remote, is ATSs are not set up to display locations and do job search in the way that makes sense to the job seeker. Same thing with the job sites themselves. And so, as this whole Colorado thing has been coming about, like I think one of the clever things is someone decided to build a website, coloradoexcluded.com. And so I was actually like perusing at some of the companies that have this kind of language in their job postings, and there's some big companies or big brands, but like when you go to their career site and like look at one of the job postings, it's like exactly as you said, Chris, like they've tied it to a location, but then somewhere in like the text of the job posting, it says, this is actually a remote role, except for to anyone in the state of Colorado. And so it's like where our systems are like, they're not catching up to like, reality of how like we're actually working.
We'll take anyone, but not the Irish.
Yeah. So
Well, so the language, I'm not going to out the company, but the language, literally, the job posting says, unless expressly indicated, this role is not open in the state of Colorado.
So Jay, one more concept on this, and then we'll get everybody out of here, which is they did this for gender pay equity. So do we truly believe that if you put a salary range of $90,000 to $150,000 on a pay range for a job, that has an impact to gender pay equity? I'm struggling to understand, because like, what company is going to go, well, we're paying Jessica 85, but we're going to pay Chris 150, right? But if Jessica knows the range, now we can pay Jessica 90 and we're going to pay Chris 150. Like, it's so ridiculous to think that that's going to have a real impact. If anything, I go back to, hey, if you have federal contracts, if you have state contracts, if you have whatever, you're going to have to prove to us, right, that you have gender parity, in terms of pay equity and all these other things, versus some of these kind of things which seem completely arbitrary to how they're really going to protect gender equity. Am I missing something there, Jay?
No, it's artificial. I mean, it was a gesture to try to make it seem as if like we're going to move the needle on something, but it's artificial. It doesn't get at like the systemic issues. And then now look what's happened. You have coloradoexcluded.com, not what they were intending to have happen.
Well, and definitely, there's not one politician, no matter what your politics are, that we're saying, hey, we want companies not to hire Coloradoans, right? Like, that was never a part of it. KD.
So I think, what's going on here, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is like the second and third step of the manifestation for what was at least a decent idea. And the decent idea with all of this, that this is kind of emulated from, is initial conversation with a recruiter. I'm recruiting Jessica and I say, how much do you make today? Which is an indication of past value and may not be indicative of her true value in the marketplace. Yeah. And what she's worth, right? So a lot of these things emulated to try and prevent that and start a conversation in a different way. But what happens is, recruiters still have to get that information. They still have to make the match. So Tim, to your point, if I put a range, let's make it less obscene, Tim, and say I put a range of 70 to 100. Yeah. Now I've got decisions to make. So you're actually excluding a lot of people because I can give you that range. But the problem is, if I give you that range, male, female, whatever, where does your mind go? Well, 70 to 100, it goes to probably 90 to 100, I think. And you're automatically disappointed if it's less than that. So, the workaround to all this when you get somebody on the phone is, where do you need to be? Right? It's a different question. And then I think you've got to be willing to share the information about what the successful candidate looks like in a very narrow range, given that person's experience. And then to your point, Tim, we're all responsible for equity, gender equity when it comes to pay for the same work. It's fascinating to watch like states like kind of take these stands and then to see the marketplace. What's interesting about this, JLee? What's really interesting about this is, coloradoexcluded.com, state takes the stand. And to your point, there's some big brands that are doing this, and we're not calling any of them out. But this seems like it'd be a crazy, crazy issue when the brands are supportive of a lot of other social like causes. It seems crazy that they would put that language in the posting. I'm not saying I disagree with it or agree with it. I just think, wow, that's unusual.
Well, and it does seem weird to me. Like, I don't understand like why a company like right now from a talent attraction standpoint, we recommend that companies put in their pay ranges for certain positions, right? Because you're actually going to get more people to apply. Back to the talent brand, JLee, like what's the reaction, from what Katie said?
Well, so I hope maybe some of our friends who work for these companies like shall get themselves onto coloradoexcluded.com, because I think I would guess most of these companies are not realizing that some of these things are coming about, like a coloradoexcluded.com, and that like they're being called out so explicitly. So, and you're right, Chris, like as soon as people start trying to compare, like I'm looking at one of these companies right now, like compare what they say on this side of the fence in terms of their stand on social issues, cultural issues, and then they're doing this over here. I mean, it's a pretty like contrasting picture that that is being painted. I mean, I'm not even going to call out any of the organizations that are on it, but some of it is like super ironic. Yeah, it's actually quite ironic. Yeah,
but again, this isn't an HR issue, Katie. This goes back to the legal team going, "Hey,
right.
we either have to put our ranges on every single job posting, or we have to put this statement." And then they're letting TA and HR make the decision. And they're like, well, wait a minute. We don't want to put ranges because now that opens a whole host of other issues, right? That we have to deal with, of people that are either under, higher, whatever, you know.
Hey, taking a half step sideways on this issue. Newsflash for those of you recruiting like nationally, Colorado is no longer a place to go for cheap talent, because the cost of living is super high and there's a bunch of move-ins from the West Coast. So we talked a couple podcasts ago about this concept of offshoring domestically and trying to find cheaper talent. You know, the dirty little secret is you go to Colorado, you start having conversations with candidates. They can be great candidates, but they look a lot more like California, like from a cost perspective than they do, let's just like name some, Arizona, the Southeast, the Midwest, Ohio, Wisconsin. They look much more like the West Coast right now than they do those other markets. So,
yeah, there's no doubt. All right. Well, guys, thanks for everything this week. We are out of here. That's the end of HR Famous for this episode. I'm Tim Sackett for Chris Dunn and Jessica Lee. We're going to see you next week, same time, same great place. We are out.